Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with my friend Ivan again, and we're going to talk more about when he got busted and went to prison for the first time. Yeah, we'll just go from there. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and comment, ask questions, and we'll get started. Take it away.
When I got raided, I wasn't going to prison that first time. I kind of beat all the charges, or had a good lawyer and paid a lot of money to get my ass out of trouble. But I was on probation. I had to take UAs and do all this stuff, like jump through all these hoops. And I didn't give up the drugs. I couldn't pass a UA. I was constantly trying to make a pouch to put piss in, to run a tube under my dick, so I could fake a UA, to pass them and stuff like that. It was nothing but a hassle. I mean, you go into the probation officer and you're just shaking like a leaf on a tree and sweating because you're lying through your teeth, and he knows you're lying through your teeth, and you gotta go take a UA, and you can't pee because you're afraid to take the plug out of the end of the hose. It was just a mess, and it finally caught up with me. I took a UA and it pretty burnt the bottom out of the cup, he said, and that held me in jail, and well, I think I got out of jail there again, and I ended up at a buddy's house and got hooked up with a first degree. And
First degree possession?
First degree possession. Had a meth lab in the truck. They missed that until 16 months later, after I got sentenced, and then they were going to give my truck back to my parents, and they found the meth lab in the truck then, But I didn't get charged with it, but I was on my way to prison anyway. But I fought it for 16 months in the county jail, sitting in the county jail for 16 months, right in Stearns County.
I remember that.
I thought I had it beat because they came in the guy's house without a warrant.
That jail sucks too.
And the judge just threw it all out and sentenced me to 158 months in prison. And I didn't know crap about prison. I'd heard stories because my brother-in-law was a cop, and going through cop school, he'd been in the prison over here playing baseball. He's talking about all the buff guys in there and the way how rough they are and stuff like that. And I tell you, it's a pretty short ride going from Stearns County Jail to St. Cloud Prison. It didn't take long to get there at all. And then when that big metal door slams behind you, and you walk into E-House, you're in for a treat. It's a whole different world.
Did you go right to the dorm, or did you go right to a cell?
Well, the first they put you in a dorm when you get in there.
Yep.
And they gotta book you in, take pictures of all your tattoos and give you your clothes and stuff like that, and then they march you down through the corridors and take you into E-House, it's called. And E-House is 4 tiers high, 2 sides to it, and you spend the first 30 days in there, to get to know the system. They do your orientation and stuff there, but everybody's hanging out. There's 2 guys to a cell, and they're all hanging out to the bars, hollering at you and going, new meat, and it's kind of intimidating.
Yeah, that is what basically was the reason when I got busted. I knew all that from everybody that told me that, and I just didn't want to go to prison. So I really didn't want to go. So it was my first felony. It gave me, they give you a chance, and there was no way I was going to screw it up. I didn't want to go to prison.
Yeah, it's no picnic. You don't know who to trust. You better like group showers, because that's what it is.
I know when JP got out, and he's been clean ever since, I talked to him, and I asked him, and he goes, I think he was in there for 4 years. And he said, I was locked in a cage for 4 years. He goes, I ain't never going back there again. So I ain't never going to use meth again. And I got out, and my mom was older, and his mom was in, worse health, and he was basically her only son, and taking care of everything. And he said, I ain't never gonna leave her again, So that's yeah. And then then a few others, Johnny, he went in and he was good for a couple of years when he got out, but then, the guy up there offered him a hit, and I remember I was there, and he took a hit, and he goes, oh my God, I've been waiting a long time for this, because he said he really loves meth, so he never went back either. He just kept on, and now he's not doing so well. He's doing pretty bad actually, but yeah, and he's Johnny's a great guy, one of the best,
Yeah.
So you go to jail, you go to prison, then what?
Well,
Did you?
I spent 2 weeks in E-House. You're supposed to spend 30 days there, but I spent 2 weeks there. And then they put me in a class called Cognitive Thinking Skills. And I got moved to B-House.
CBT.
And I went through that.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, they call it now, but yeah.
We 2 weeks of that, and then it's you can get a job after that. So then I applied for a job, got a job in a license plate factory. And the same day I got the job, I got a red box, which means you pack up and you're leaving the facility. And they shipped me over to Appleton Prison, which was a private prison. And they had Idaho, they had Washington, they had California, Colorado, Hawaii, all these different states in there, Wisconsin, because they held a lot of people over there. And the people from Washington were there because they burnt down a prison in Colorado, and most of the guys from Washington, they were in there for murder, because they were military people that catch someone driving or run across their backyard at nighttime, and they'd shoot them, kill them. Yeah. And that's the way they were taught by the government, and they never gave me any help when they came back from the war, so they just kill somebody, but that's what a lot of them guys were doing 40, 50 years, and at first Appleton was all right. They gave us good food. We were grilling food and stuff like that. And then the Minnesota DOC stepped in and said they couldn't grill the food anymore. Couldn't have steaks, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, because carcinogens on the meat from the grill and stuff like that causes cancer and just
ashes,
BS.
Basically, yeah.
And I worked over there. That's where I learned HVAC. I knew air conditioning from vehicles and stuff like that, but I learned HVAC because I took care of all the HVAC stuff on the roof mount units and stuff like that. One of the better jobs in the prison, and it's 50 cents an hour is all you ever get for it. Education, you got paid 50 cents an hour. I took some business classes and stuff like that. Sat over there for 4.5 years,
So did you know anybody when you got there?
Everybody.
No shit.
Everybody knew. Everybody had went down. From Jimmy to, I should probably mention any names, but everybody from around this area was over there already.
Yeah.
It was like a homecoming. I didn't really. There was a few guys over there that liked to cause trouble.
Did you meet anybody? Any good friends there that you didn't know before?
That I didn't know before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a few friends
Yeah.
over there that, You know, I hadn't known before, but there's one guy that was over there. He was over here in St. Cloud with me, and he was actually there on a sex charge. And I watched him get harassed by the PMBs. You know, they wanted to extort him and stuff, but he was a pretty good friend of mine, so I kind of stepped in and helped him out a little bit, you know, and got him to back off of him. But I mean, it was no picnic for him, you know. And you didn't let your guard down because, I mean, there was always somebody trying to do somebody in. I mean,
Yeah.
fights in the hallway, or, I mean, it was, you watched your back. You walked around with your buddy all the time because,
Well, I know that you're. I know that you're really intelligent and smarter than most people. I mean, as far as I know, did you ever have to use your brain to get out of a jam while you were there? Anything come to mind?
I think there was only one time I got in a kind of a, over there, I got kind of in a tussle with a native, you know, native guy. And to this day, I don't know what it was about. I mean, he just was, let's say, not quite right in the head. He was a little strange, a little different,
Yeah.
you know. And if it hadn't been for one of the other natives coming up to me and tell me about what was going to kick off, I mean, I'd have been blindsided, but I'd have been forewarned, you know, so I was ready, you know. And thank God I didn't go the hole over it, you know. They ended up, I mean, I think the guards knew it was going to kick off too, you know, because they were right there. I mean, they had it stopped before it even, things you got too violent, you know.
Did you ever get put in a hole?
The only time I got put in a hole is when I got moved.
Right.
And spent some time in the hole, you know, for to make bed
Yeah.
space in the prison.
How long?
One time 11 days. Next time it was I think 14 days.
And there you didn't talk to anybody.
No, you got a book, and they brought your meal to the cell, and you got out for 1 hour a day to take a shower and walk around by yourself. It was nobody. You weren't.
What did that do to you mentally? I mean, they say it's pretty torturous, you know.
Well, I occupied myself by reading a lot.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I if you lay there and look at the four walls, or try to look at the sun coming through the window or something like that, there you're going to go nuts. You know.
Yeah.
Thankfully, where I went to the hole at, there had doors on every cell. You know, it was no bars or nothing like that. It was all doors, so it could kind of block out the noise from the guy hollering, because there's a lot of goofs in there. You know, like to scream and holler and
Yelling through the vents.
yeah,
God, I hate
shit like that. You know.
Yeah.
That's you know, and then when I went to Moose Lake, it was another whole new ball game. You know, from Appleton back to the DOC. I mean, it was a lot more freedom when I got to Moose Lake, because I was getting ready, prepared to go to boot camp. You know, so then your yard times, you could go out. Yard was open all day. Gym was open all day, so you could be in one or the other. You know.
You know, last year when there was that much snow last year, remember? I talked to a buddy of mine. I forget who it was, but he was in boot camp during that, and they shoveled that whole.
Yeah, they did this when I was up there too in 2012.
Yeah. Shoveled the whole walking track or the running track.
The whole thing, everything up, even the road coming in, it was all shoveled.
Yeah.
And then, if it didn't snow, you take the snow pile that you made, and you'd move it over to this other spot. You know.
Yeah.
And then if there still was no snow, you take that snow pile and move back to where it was, just to give you something to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine told me it was brutal because we got a lot of snow last year. You know.
So, yeah.
But yeah. So, but you were getting money from, or you had money coming in for your books and stuff, or?
No, I didn't ask. I had money when I went in.
Yeah.
You know, I went through a divorce and got my divorce settlement and stuff like that. So I had money when I went in, and that's how I paid for my college because I took 2 years of Bible college when I was over there,
Oh, yeah. You
and I
told me
paid for
about
all that. Everything was paid 50 cents an hour. You know, I got a job in the sewing factory, and I got to be a line leader over there, and that put me up to $1.25 an hour.
Wow.
You know, so I came out of prison with like $3,000 in my pocket. But when I went to boot camp, the first thing they did is, was your red hat and a lot of push-ups and stuff like that. But they put me on KP duty, and the first time they handed me that steel pot with that whisk, oh man, and I'd been in for 7 years already. I could taste the dope, I could smell it. I mean, I just started sweating. I felt like I was high, everything, you know.
From
Them handing me that steel pot,
oh yeah, yeah.
you know. It was just a flashback. I'd been in for 7 years, hadn't seen dope, hadn't done dope, you know. And they gave me that, and I was kind of like, oh, man, I felt high. I could taste the dope. I could smell it, everything, you know.
You ever drive down a highway? This happens to me all the time. Some exhaust from some cars smells just like it.
No, I don't get that. But
It's like,
if I go down Highway 10 here, I go right by my old shop, you know,
yeah.
and I look over. It's kind of like brings back memories, you know.
Yeah.
But
So,
you know,
so then you get out. You're in prison. You get out, and then Tammy was waiting for you, or what? She was writing to you.
She wrote to me through the time I was there, you know, and then probably about 2 years before I got out, I kind of told her to go on her way, you know, because I was in boot camp,
Yeah.
and then I got kicked out of boot camp.
For.
I had a false imprisonment charge against me way back when, 30 years ago.
Oh, so you didn't qualify for boot camp or
So they
something?
said I didn't qualify, but it wasn't right. I sued the DOC, got put back in boot camp, and then I sued them again because they held me 2 years too long. And I would have got money out of it, but I didn't follow the chain of command, they said. Now, the warden kicked me out, so I went right over, I took him right to court, and they said I was supposed to go to the sergeant, to the lieutenant, to the assistant warden, back to the warden, to appeal my case. But I couldn't figure out why I was supposed to go back to the sergeant, following chain of command from there, but when the warden's the one that pulled me out, the director and stuff like that. So I just sued him in court, and the judge said if I'd have followed the chain of command, I'd have got the $320 a day, for false imprisonment or for holding me too long, but I didn't follow that chain of command, so that was their excuse for not to pay me. But
So then, you got out, and
I got out in 2012. I should have got out in 2010, and I got out in 2012 instead.
then you were on probation, or what did you
I
call it?
was on parole, they call it,
Yeah, parole.
and the ISR for the first year,
ISR
Because-
stands for.
intense
Okay.
supervised release.
Is it? I mean, I know some people who was on that where you actually got to call in every time you
Yep.
leave your building and
Yep.
go into another building and all
I
that.
had to call in the morning, call it, and tell them what my schedule was.
Yeah.
You know,
And then if you had a doctor's appointment, you would
I-
say, "I'm going to my doctor's appointment," and then before you walk in, you say, "I'm here." Was
No.
it that intense? Or
no,
Okay.
I just had to call in my schedule every day.
Okay.
Tell them, well, I got a doctor's appointment today. I'm leaving for work now. At 10 o'clock, I go to a doctor's appointment. Then I'll go back to work, or whatever.
Basically, if you get caught out of that, where you're going and where
Right.
you're coming back to, if you get caught being somewhere else, you go back in.
Right.
Okay.
And I worked for the garbage company driving truck. So I mean,
And then you had random.
random
Just-
UA.
yeah.
They would
Middle of the
call me up
night.
and say, "Where you at?" You know, okay, meet me at such and such an intersection. We'll do UA. You know, or we'll meet you at your place of employment at 5:00. Be ready to take a UA. You know, or they come to my house at 10:00 at night and UA me or give me a breathalyzer. You know, and that was for the first year. You know.
Yeah.
My niece got married during that first year, and they allowed me to go to Duluth to her wedding. You know, and I got to the wedding, went to the wedding, and I got to stay for the meal at the reception, and then I had to come back. I didn't get to stay for the dance or anything like that. You know,
Right.
but
So then you got off ISR.
got off
And
ISR.
You and Tammy hooked back up.
She actually wrote me a letter once I got out of prison.
Okay.
When I was staying at my mom and dad's, and we started communicating, and she came up and seen me, you know, and then she got fired at her job down here, and I said, well, I'll just get an apartment in Alexandria and you can move in there with me, and that's how we got back together, and her and my mom never did got along, so.
And then do you remember the one time when I think you were still married, I believe, and you came in to town, and this is okay. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Batteries died.
Okay, good. So yeah.